The notification sound cuts through the silence like a blade. Jasmine Carter's fingers freeze over her phone screen, her heart hammering against her ribs. The wedding photos load slowly, each pixel a fresh stab of betrayal. Her sister Vanessa stands radiant in white silk, surrounded by Marcus's family. Everyone is there, laughing, celebrating, living their perfect moment. Everyone except the person who paid for it all. Jasmine's hands tremble as she scrolls through image after image. The venue she helped secure with a $2,000 deposit gleams behind them. Vanessa's designer dress, the one Jasmine bought after 3 months of overtime, flows perfectly. The floral arrangements, she insisted on gifting sparkle in golden hour light. But her own face is nowhere to be found in this fairy tale. 27 years old, home from her third deployment, Jasmine stares at her reflection. The apartment around her tells a different story than these photos. Empty takeout containers stack on her coffee table like monuments to loneliness. Bills spread across her kitchen counter document 2 years of financial sacrifice. Rent payments to Vanessa and Marcus, $25,000 over 24 months. Furniture purchases when they claimed their apartment was too bare to live in. Personal expenses when Marcus lost his job for the 3rd time this year. Wedding gifts, engagement presents, countless dinner tabs she always somehow picked up. The math burns in her chest as she calculates the betrayal. Her military salary, stretched thin across 2 households, supporting 2 dreams. One was supposed to be her sister's happiness. The other was supposed to be her own future. Now she realizes she only funded one. Jasmine sets her phone down, the screen still glowing with someone else's joy. The silence in her apartment feels different now, heavier with newfound understanding. She had spent 2 years believing she was building something with family. Instead, she had been funding her own exclusion from it. The photos keep loading automatically, an endless stream of celebration without her. Marcus's mother embraces Vanessa like the daughter she always wanted. His brothers pose with arms around the bride, claiming their new sister. Extended family fills every frame, their faces bright with genuine welcome and love. Jasmine realizes she has been replaced before she even knew the position was vacant. The wedding she helped plan became the party she was never invited to. Her phone buzzes against the wooden table, vibrating with incoming notification. Vanessa's name appears on the screen like salt in an open wound. Jasmine stares at it, remembering every sacrifice of the last 2 years. Every overtime shift she pulled to cover their rent payments. Every weekend she spent alone while they built their life together. Every phone call where Vanessa complained about money while wearing clothes Jasmine bought. The ringing continues, insistent and demanding as it always has been. Jasmine knows exactly what this call will be about. Not an explanation for the secret wedding or an apology for the exclusion. Not gratitude for 2 years of financial support or acknowledgement of sacrifice. Vanessa will ask for rent money, just like she always does. The irony tastes bitter on Jasmine's tongue as she swipes to answer. Vanessa's voice comes through bright and cheerful, still high from wedding bliss. "Hey, Jazz, hope you're doing good," she says without a trace of guilt. The casual tone cuts deeper than any scream could have managed. "Listen, Marcus and I need next month's rent by Friday," Vanessa continues smoothly. No mention of wedding photos or secret ceremonies or family betrayal. Just the same financial demand that has defined their relationship for years. Jasmine sits in stunned silence, processing the audacity of the request. Her sister just celebrated the biggest day of her life without her. Posted pictures for the world to see, making the exclusion public and permanent. Now she calls asking for money like nothing happened at all. The words form slowly in Jasmine's throat, heavy with 2 years of resentment. "I saw the photos," she says quietly, her voice steady despite trembling hands. Vanessa's cheerful tone falters just slightly, caught off guard by the subject change. "Oh, those," she laughs nervously. "We just wanted something small and intimate. Only special people," You know how it island. The phrase hits Jasmine like a physical blow, stealing breath from her lungs. Special people. She repeats the words silently, tasting their venom on her tongue. After $25,000 and 2 years of sacrifice, she wasn't special enough. The silence stretches between them, filled with unspoken history and fresh wounds. Jasmine can hear Marcus laughing in the background, probably at wedding videos. The sound of their happiness built on her financial foundation makes her stomach turn. So about that rent, Vanessa continues, pretending the moment never happened. Jasmine closes her eyes, feeling something fundamental shift inside her chest. 2 years of being taken for granted crystallize into perfect clarity. She thinks of every automatic transfer, every emergency payment, every generous gift. All of it funding a life she was never truly invited to share. The wedding photos still glow on her phone screen, evidence of ultimate betrayal. Her voice comes out steady, cold, and perfectly controlled when she finally speaks. "Sorry, Vanessa," she says, borrowing her sister's own words back to her. "Special people only." The silence after hanging up feels different than any quiet Jasmine has known. It carries the weight of 2 years crashing down like dominoes. She walks to her bedroom dresser and pulls out her old military footlocker. Inside, beneath dress uniforms and commendation letters, lies her original bank statement. $40,000 in savings stares back at her from the yellowed paper. The number feels like looking at someone else's life now. 2 years ago, she had stepped off the military transport with everything ahead of her. Her discharge papers crisp in her duffel bag, her future mapped out clearly. She was going to use that money to start fresh in civilian life. Maybe buy a small house, start a business, build something lasting and real. Then Vanessa called with tears in her voice and desperation in every word. "Jazz, we're in trouble." Her sister had sobbed through the phone connection. "Marcus lost his job again, and we can't make rent this month. The landlord is threatening eviction and we have nowhere else to turn. You're the only family I have left who can help us." Jasmine remembers the tightness in her chest, the military instinct to protect family. She had wired $1,500 that same afternoon without a second thought. It was supposed to be a one-time emergency, a temporary bridge between jobs. But emergencies kept coming like waves crashing against her bank account steadily. Marcus's interviews never seemed to pan out into actual employment opportunities. Their apartment needed furniture because the previous tenants had taken everything valuable. Jasmine found herself shopping for couches, dining sets, and bedroom furniture sets. She justified every purchase as an investment in their stability and future happiness. If they had a comfortable home, Marcus would be more motivated to work. If Vanessa felt secure, she would stop calling with fresh financial crises. But the crises multiplied instead of disappearing like Jasmine had hoped they would. Marcus needed a watch for job interviews, something that projected success and confidence. The $2,000 Rolex felt excessive, but Vanessa insisted it was absolutely necessary. How else could he compete with other candidates in this brutal job market? Jasmine's military training had taught her to think strategically about long-term goals. She saw each expense as tactical support for her sister's eventual independence. But independence never came, only deeper dependence on her shrinking savings account. The wedding dress shopping trip should have been her first major red flag. Vanessa insisted on trying on gowns at the most expensive boutique in Manhattan. Each dress cost more than Jasmine's monthly food budget during her deployment years. But watching her sister's face light up felt worth every dollar at the time. "This is it, Jazz," Vanessa had whispered, twirling in $3,000 of silk. "I feel like a princess in this one, don't you think it's perfect?" Jasmine had nodded and handed over her credit card without hesitation or second thought. Her sister's happiness felt like the most important investment she could possibly make. The family dinner started shortly after Marcus finally found part-time work somewhere. Jasmine would arrive with groceries, cook elaborate meals, and pay for everything always. She told herself she was building memories and strengthening their family bonds. But the conversations always left her feeling smaller, less important, somehow diminished. "You're so serious all the time, Jazz," Marcus would say with patronizing laughter. "Military life really did a number on you, didn't it, making you so rigid?" Vanessa would giggle and add her own observations about Jasmine's personality flaws. "You need to learn how to have fun and stop being so uptight. Normal people don't plan every single detail of their lives like battle strategies. You'll never understand what real family connection feels like with that attitude." The words stung because they felt designed to hurt rather than help. Jasmine began questioning her own instincts and judgment about relationship dynamics. Maybe she was too serious, too controlled, too damaged by military service. Maybe her discomfort with their constant financial requests revealed personal character flaws. She started staying later at their apartment, trying to prove she could be fun. She laughed at Marcus's jokes even when they weren't funny to her. She agreed with Vanessa's opinions, even when they contradicted her own beliefs. But nothing she did ever seemed quite enough to earn genuine acceptance. The harder she tried to fit into their dynamic, the more excluded she felt. She was useful for emergencies, but never truly welcomed into their inner circle. Her money was always invited to every gathering and celebration they planned. But Jasmine herself remained perpetually on the outside, looking in at their happiness. Late at night in her own apartment, she would review her bank statements. The numbers told a story she was afraid to read too carefully. 40,000 had become 35, then 28, then 15, then 8,000. Each withdrawal represented another attempt to buy her way into belonging somewhere. But belonging never came, only fresh requests and new emergencies requiring immediate attention. Marcus's birthday required an expensive dinner at his favorite steakhouse in the city. Vanessa's promotion called for celebration jewelry that sparkled like her bright future ahead. Their anniversary needed a weekend getaway that Jasmine funded but never joined. She had become their personal ATM, dispensing cash on demand without question. The realization sits heavy in her chest now as she stares at that original statement. $40,000 could have bought her freedom, independence, and a fresh start. Instead, she had purchased 2 years of manipulation disguised as family love. Her savings account now holds less than $3,000 in total. But her understanding of the situation has finally become crystal clear and unshakable. She wasn't supporting family members through temporary hardship, as she had believed. She was funding her own exclusion from the family she desperately wanted to join. Monday morning arrives with the kind of clarity Jasmine hasn't felt in years. She sits at her kitchen table with her laptop open and her phone nearby. The automatic transfers to Vanessa and Marcus stare back at her from the screen. 2 years of scheduled payments, every month without fail, like clockwork supporting their lives. Her finger hovers over the cancel button for exactly 3 seconds before clicking. The confirmation message appears instantly, severing the financial lifeline she had provided for so long. "Transfer canceled" successfully echoes on her screen like the final word in an argument. The relief hits her chest like a deep breath after holding it underwater. She moves through her apartment with military precision, making a list of changes. First stop, the hardware store for new deadbolt locks and security equipment. The young clerk raises his eyebrows at her extensive purchase of cameras and motion sensors. Moving out or moving in, he asks with genuine curiosity about her security upgrade. "Neither," Jasmine replies with a small smile, "just moving forward for the first time." She spends the afternoon installing cameras at every entrance and window of her place. Each device connects to her phone, giving her complete control over her own space. For the first time in 2 years, her apartment feels truly hers again. The new locks slide into place with satisfying clicks that sound like freedom. That evening, she opens a notebook and begins sketching out a different kind of life. Personal goals that don't involve supporting anyone else's dreams but her own dreams. She writes down the address of a boxing gym 3 blocks from her apartment. Next to it, she adds the contact information for a pottery class downtown. Under that, she lists volunteer opportunities at the local veterans center nearby. These are things she had wanted to do before Vanessa's crises consumed her time. Activities that would build her own community instead of funding someone else's happiness. The phone rings at exactly 7:30 that evening, shattering her peaceful planning session. Vanessa's name appears on the screen, but Jasmine lets it go to voicemail. 5 minutes later, Marcus calls from his number, then Vanessa again, then Marcus. The pattern continues for an hour, their desperation growing with each unanswered call. Finally, the doorbell rings with an aggressive persistence that echoes through her apartment. Jasmine checks her new security cameras and sees both of them standing outside. Marcus paces like a caged animal, while Vanessa clutches her phone with white knuckles. They look smaller somehow, less intimidating than they had seemed before her revelation. The pounding on her door starts shortly after the doorbell stops working for them. Marcus's fist connects with the wood in angry, demanding rhythms that shake the frame. "Jazz, open this door right now," he shouts with an authority he doesn't possess. "We know you're in there, and we need to talk about this immediately." Vanessa's voice joins his, higher and more desperate than Jasmine has ever heard. "You can't just abandon family like this, Jazz. Please be reasonable about this. We have bills due tomorrow, and nowhere else to turn for help." Jasmine approaches the door slowly, her hand resting on the new deadbolt lock. Through the peephole, she can see Marcus's face red, with anger and entitlement. "Family," she calls through the door, her voice steady and controlled despite her heartbeat. "Funny, I don't recall being in your wedding photos last weekend at all." The silence that follows her words feels like a physical weight pressing against the door. She can see Vanessa's face crumple through the security camera feed on her phone. Marcus steps back from the door, his expression shifting from anger to something like shock. The pounding stops abruptly, replaced by hushed arguing between the two of them. Jasmine retreats to her couch and opens her laptop to research boxing gym memberships. The voices outside fade as they apparently realize she won't be opening the door. Car doors slam in the distance, followed by the sound of an engine starting. She watches through her window as their headlights disappear down the street into darkness. For the first time in months, Jasmine sleeps deeply and dreamlessly through the night. 3 weeks pass in a blur of rediscovering who she is without their constant demands. The boxing gym becomes her daily escape, channeling frustration into powerful combinations against heavy bags. Her trainer, Maria, notices her natural athleticism and invites her to join advanced classes. The pottery studio offers meditation through clay, creating beautiful things with her own hands. At the Veterans Center, she helps other former soldiers navigate civilian bureaucracy and challenges. Each day feels fuller than the months of funding someone else's happiness had. Her bank account stops bleeding money and begins growing again for the first time. The automatic transfers no longer drain her paycheck every month, like open wounds. She starts planning a vacation, something she hadn't considered possible in 2 years. Then the darkness comes knocking again with unexpected legal weapons in hand. Saturday afternoon finds Jasmine returning from pottery class with clay still under her fingernails. The security camera alert on her phone shows 3 figures standing at her door. Vanessa and Marcus flank a man in an expensive suit, carrying a briefcase. The lawyer looks official and intimidating, exactly what they were hoping to project. Jasmine watches through her cameras as they produce keys and attempt her old locks. The new deadbolts hold firm, frustrating their obvious plan to simply walk inside. Marcus kicks the door in anger, while the lawyer checks his watch impatiently. Through the intercom system, she hears Vanessa's voice take on a pleading tone. "Jazz, we brought someone to help us work this out legally and properly. You're clearly not thinking straight after all that military trauma you experienced overseas. We're here to help you get the financial assistance you obviously need desperately." The lawyer's voice cuts through with professional authority designed to intimidate and control. "Miss Carter, I represent your family in this matter of financial responsibility and care. We have documentation of your unstable mental state requiring immediate intervention and oversight. Please open the door so we can discuss a reasonable financial guardianship arrangement. Jasmine's blood runs cold as she realizes the true scope of their desperation. They aren't just asking for money anymore. They're trying to steal her independence. The lawyer's office smells like old leather and fresh desperation mixed together unpleasantly. Attorney Rebecca Martinez sits across from Jasmine under harsh fluorescent lighting that flatters nobody. Her steel gray hair and no-nonsense expression inspire the kind of confidence Jasmine desperately needs. This is financial abuse, pure and simple, Martinez says after reviewing the initial documents. They're using your military service as a weapon against your credibility and independence. But we're going to fight this with facts, documentation, and the truth. Jasmine nods, feeling the familiar comfort of having a clear mission with defined objectives. She had spent Sunday night gathering every piece of financial evidence from her records. Bank statements spread across the conference table like battle plans awaiting strategic analysis. 2 years of transfers, purchases, and payments tell the story better than words. $25,000 in documented financial support flows in one direction only. Not a single payment from Vanessa or Marcus appears anywhere in her records. The evidence paints a clear picture of exploitation disguised as family emergency assistance. Martinez highlights key transactions with a yellow marker, building their defense methodically and carefully. Wedding dress purchase, $3,000, 3 weeks before the secret ceremony. Furniture payments totaling $8,000 for their apartment she never visited regularly. Marcus's Rolex, $2,000, purchased the same week he claimed job interview necessity. Rent payments, $1,500 monthly, never missing a single deadline for them. Each highlighted line represents another piece of proof of their calculated financial manipulation. This documentation will be crucial when they present their fabricated evidence, Martinez explains grimly. Because make no mistake, they're going to fight dirty against you. Jasmine's military training kicks in as she considers the enemy's likely tactical approaches. She had faced insurgents who used deception and false information as primary weapons. This legal battle would require the same strategic thinking and careful preparation for combat. Martinez hands her a legal pad filled with contact information and specific assignments. I need character witnesses who can testify about your mental stability, she instructs clearly. People who know you well and can speak to your judgment and independence. Former military colleagues would be ideal if they're willing to participate in testimony. Jasmine thinks immediately of her Army teammates scattered across the country but still connected. Sergeant First Class David Chen had served 3 tours with her in Afghanistan. Staff Sergeant Maria Gonzalez had been her roommate during their final deployment overseas together. Lieutenant Colonel James Wilson had written her discharge recommendation praising her exceptional service record. These were people who had seen her under extreme stress and pressure. They knew her decision-making abilities when lives hung in the balance daily. If anyone could testify to her mental stability, it would be fellow soldiers. She starts making phone calls that evening from her apartment's security camera cocoon. David answers on the second ring from his home in Texas with characteristic enthusiasm. "Jazz, what's happening?" he says, his voice carrying that familiar military brotherhood warmth. She explains the situation without sugarcoating the details or minimizing the severity completely. David's response comes quick and fierce with protective anger she recognizes from combat. "Are you kidding me right now? Those people are trying to steal your rights. I'll be on the next flight to New York to testify if needed. You saved my life twice in Kandahar. Now it's my turn completely." Maria's reaction proves equally supportive when Jasmine reaches her in California that evening. This is exactly the kind of manipulation tactics we learned about in training. "You're the most level-headed person I've ever served with under any circumstances. I'll drive cross-country if necessary to tell a judge the truth." Lieutenant Colonel Wilson offers not just testimony but strategic advice about legal warfare. Document everything they claim about your mental state for future reference, he advises. Military medical records will contradict any allegations of psychological instability they manufacture. I'll provide your complete service record and my personal recommendation letter. Within 48 hours, Jasmine has assembled a formidable team of character witnesses ready. But Martinez warns her that their opponents won't surrender without escalating their attacks. The next week brings a flood of fabricated evidence designed to destroy credibility. Hospital bills appear claiming Jasmine owes money for psychiatric treatment she never received. The bills show dates when she was deployed overseas, serving her country. Store employees from a boutique she's never visited claim she shoplifted expensive items. Their sworn statements describe erratic behavior and verbal outbursts toward innocent customers. Neighbors allegedly report hearing screaming and violent outbursts from her apartment at night. These same neighbors had never spoken to Jasmine in 2 years of residence. Each piece of false evidence feels like a knife twisted deeper into betrayal. Martinez examines the fabricated documents under a magnifying glass with professional skepticism. The hospital letterhead is wrong for that medical facility, she notes carefully. This employee signature doesn't match the store's personnel records we obtained yesterday. These neighbor complaints were filed the same day their lawyer contacted them. The coordinated timing proves this is a deliberate campaign of character, assassination, and lies. But we have our own evidence that will expose their lies completely. Jasmine sits in her apartment that night, surrounded by legal documents and evidence. Her security cameras show Marcus and Vanessa driving by slowly, watching her windows. They're trying to intimidate her into submission through psychological warfare and legal pressure. But she's faced real enemies with real weapons in actual combat zones. A desperate sister and her husband with fake documents don't scare her anymore. She reviews her own evidence methodically, preparing for the courtroom battle ahead. Military medical records showing perfect psychological evaluations throughout her service years complete. Bank statements proving every dollar she gave them came from her own earned income. Character witnesses ready to testify about her stability, judgment, and independence under oath. Security camera footage showing their aggressive behavior at her door, recently captured. The truth would be her most powerful weapon in this legal warfare. Martinez had warned her that family court battles could get ugly quickly. But Jasmine had survived real warfare and emerged stronger than before deployment. This legal battle would require the same courage, strategy, and determination to win. She closes her laptop and checks her security cameras one final time before bed. Tomorrow would bring new attacks, fresh lies, and escalated legal warfare against her. But tonight, she sleeps with the peace of someone fighting for justice. The Manhattan family court buzzes with tension thick enough to cut with knives. Judge Patricia Williams presides from her bench with 30 years of experience reading lies. Her silver hair and sharp eyes miss nothing as lawyers prepare their opening statements. Vanessa sits at the plaintiff's table, wearing a black dress that screams victim performance. Marcus adjusts his tie nervously, his expensive watch catching courtroom fluorescent lighting harshly. Their attorney, Richard Blackwood, exudes the kind of arrogance that money can buy. Jasmine enters wearing her dress blue uniform, every ribbon and medal perfectly positioned. The sight of her military bearing causes whispers to ripple through the gallery. Martinez sits beside her, calm and professional, radiating quiet confidence about their case. David Chen, Maria Gonzalez, and Lieutenant Colonel Wilson fill the first row behind them. Their presence feels like a shield wall protecting Jasmine from the family's lies. Judge Williams calls the court to order with a sharp bang of her gavel. Mr. Blackwood rises first, his voice dripping with theatrical concern for his clients. Your Honor, we are here today to protect a vulnerable young woman, he begins. Miss Carter has clearly suffered psychological damage from her military service overseas recently. Her behavior has become erratic, dangerous, and financially irresponsible in recent months completely. She refuses to honor family obligations and has cut off all communication. We seek court intervention to ensure she receives the help she desperately needs. Blackwood presents their fabricated evidence with the confidence of a seasoned performer. Hospital bills claiming psychiatric treatment that never happened appear as exhibits mysteriously. Store employees testify about shoplifting incidents that exist only in their imagination. Neighbors describe violent outbursts that supposedly occurred while Jasmine was deployed overseas. Each lie builds upon the last, creating a false narrative of instability. Vanessa takes the witness stand with tears streaming down her carefully made-up face. She describes a sister who became violent and unpredictable after returning from war. Jazz used to be so sweet, she sobs into the microphone dramatically. But the military changed her into someone I don't recognize anymore at all. She threatens us, refuses to help family, and acts completely irrational about money. We just want our sister back, the one who cared about family. Marcus follows with his own performance, describing alleged verbal abuse and financial manipulation. He claims Jasmine promised to support them forever before becoming mentally unstable suddenly. Their lawyer presents doctored financial records, showing loans instead of gifts, apparently. The fabricated evidence paints Jasmine as someone who borrowed money and refuses repayment. Judge Williams listens with the patience of someone who has heard every lie. Martinez rises for their defense with surgical precision in every measured word. Your Honor, this case represents financial abuse disguised as family concern, she states. My client served 3 tours overseas with exemplary psychological evaluations throughout her service. The evidence will show that she supported her sister voluntarily for 2 years. $25,000 in documented gifts, not loans, given out of family love. When she discovered their secret wedding that excluded her completely, she stopped giving. This lawsuit is retaliation for cutting off their financial supply, nothing more serious. Martinez calls Dr. Emily Harrison, chief psychiatrist at Walter Reed Medical Center. Dr. Harrison had conducted Jasmine's final military psychological evaluation just months earlier. Ms. Carter shows no signs of PTSD, depression, or any psychological instability, she testifies. Her cognitive function, emotional regulation, and decision-making abilities are all exemplary consistently. I would stake my professional reputation on her complete mental fitness. The fabricated hospital bills contradict my official military medical records entirely. David Chen takes the stand next, his bearing reflecting years of military discipline. I served 3 combat tours with Jasmine Carter in Afghanistan, he states clearly. She saved my life twice and demonstrated exceptional judgment under extreme pressure. She is the most mentally stable person I have ever served with. Anyone claiming she is unstable has never seen her in actual combat. Maria Gonzalez follows with equally powerful testimony about Jasmine's character and stability. Lieutenant Colonel Wilson presents Jasmine's complete service record with glowing recommendations throughout. Friends from the boxing gym testify about her positive attitude and healthy lifestyle. Her pottery instructor describes someone finding peace and creativity after military service. Each witness chips away at the fabricated narrative of instability and mental illness. The tide in the courtroom shifts visibly as truth confronts manufactured lies. Judge Williams calls for a brief recess before Jasmine's own testimony begins. Martinez squeezes her client's shoulder as they prepare for the crucial moment. Remember, she whispers, you're not the person they're trying to paint you as. You're a decorated veteran who deserves respect and independence from financial abuse. Court reconvenes with Jasmine approaching the witness stand in her dress blues. Every eye in the courtroom follows her measured steps and military bearing. She places her hand on the Bible with the same steadiness she showed. The oath echoes in the silent courtroom as she swears to tell truth. Martinez begins with gentle questions about her military service and commendations received. Jasmine's voice carries clear and strong as she describes her overseas deployments. Now tell the court about your relationship with your sister, Martinez continues. I loved Vanessa and wanted to help her build a stable life, Jasmine responds. For 2 years, I gave her everything she asked for, without question. Rent, furniture, personal expenses, wedding costs, gifts for every occasion they celebrated. I thought I was supporting family, but I was funding my own exclusion. The secret wedding proved that my money was welcome, but I was not. Blackwood rises for cross-examination with aggressive energy meant to intimidate and confuse. Miss Carter, isn't it true that you suffer from violent nightmares? He shouts. No, sir. That is completely false, Jasmine responds with military composure. Haven't you threatened your sister and her husband repeatedly in recent months? No, sir. I have only refused to continue supporting them financially. The cross-examination continues, but Jasmine never wavers in her calm responses. Her military training serves her well under the pressure of hostile questioning. When Blackwood finishes, the courtroom falls into expectant silence as everyone waits. Judge Williams reviews her notes before addressing both sides with measured authority. The tide has turned completely in favor of truth over manufactured lies. Judge Williams removes her reading glasses and looks directly at both legal teams. The silence in the courtroom feels heavy with anticipation and barely contained breath. Vanessa grips Marcus's hand while their lawyer shuffles papers nervously at their table. Jasmine sits perfectly still, her military posture reflecting years of discipline under pressure. Martinez places a reassuring hand on her client's shoulder as they await the decision. After reviewing all evidence and testimony presented, Judge Williams begins her final statement. This court finds the plaintiff's claims to be without merit or factual basis. The evidence clearly shows a pattern of financial exploitation disguised as family emergency. Miss Carter provided over $25,000 in documented gifts, not loans. The psychological evaluation from Walter Reed confirms her complete mental stability and fitness. The fabricated evidence presented by plaintiffs undermines their credibility entirely in this matter. Hospital bills showing treatment dates during overseas deployment are obviously falsified documents. Neighbor complaints filed the same day. Legal action began suggest coordinated character assassination. This lawsuit appears motivated by financial desperation rather than genuine concern for welfare. The court finds that Miss Carter was the victim of financial abuse. Case dismissed with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled in this jurisdiction. The gavel falls with a sharp crack that echoes through the suddenly silent courtroom. Vanessa's face crumples as the reality of their defeat settles over her completely. Marcus stares at the table, his expensive watch seeming heavier on his wrist. Their lawyer begins gathering papers with the efficient movements of someone accepting failure. Jasmine exhales slowly, feeling 2 years of tension leave her body at once. No wild celebration erupts from her side of the courtroom, just quiet satisfaction. Martinez squeezes her shoulder as David, Maria, and Wilson approach, with proud smiles. You did it, Jazz, David says with the warmth of a brother congratulating success. That was the most composed testimony I've ever seen under hostile fire. Maria wraps her in a fierce hug that speaks of shared battles won. Lieutenant Colonel Wilson shakes her hand with the respect of one soldier honoring another. You represented yourself and the service with exceptional honor today, Sergeant Carter. Jasmine turns to look at Vanessa and Marcus one final time before leaving. Her sister's eyes meet hers across the courtroom, filled with shame and regret. For a moment, Jasmine feels the ghost of their childhood bond tugging at her. But the memory of wedding photos without her face hardens her resolve completely. She nods once, a final goodbye to the family that chose money over love. Then she turns and walks out of the courtroom into bright Manhattan sunlight. 3 weeks later, Jasmine stands in her apartment, surrounded by moving boxes everywhere. The for sale sign outside her window already displays a bright red sold sticker. She had decided to start completely fresh, leaving behind every reminder of exploitation. The apartment sale would fund the next chapter of her life without compromise. Jazz music flows from her speakers as she packs her remaining belongings carefully. Duke Ellington's piano fills the space with the kind of joy she feels. She sings along to Take Thee a Train while wrapping dishes in newspaper. Her voice carries the lightness of someone finally free from invisible chains completely. The weight that had pressed on her shoulders for 2 years has vanished. Each box she seals represents another step toward independence and self-determination she craves. Her laptop sits open on the kitchen counter, displaying the Veterans Foundation website. She had decided to donate half her apartment sale proceeds to help struggling soldiers. Other veterans shouldn't face financial abuse from family members like she had endured. The donation would fund housing assistance and legal aid for vulnerable service members. Giving back feels like the perfect way to transform her pain into purpose. A knock at her door interrupts her packing, but the security cameras show friendly faces. Maria and David have driven up from the boxing gym for a goodbye celebration. They carry bags of Chinese takeout and a bottle of champagne for toasting. The apartment fills with laughter as they share stories and plan future visits. No one mentions Vanessa or Marcus or the legal battle they recently survived. This moment belongs to friendship, loyalty, and the bonds that money cannot buy. As evening falls, Jasmine's friends reluctantly leave for their respective homes and lives. She stands alone in her nearly empty apartment, feeling peaceful for the first time. Tomorrow, she will fly to California to visit pottery studios and explore options. Next month brings a planned trip to Europe for art classes and cultural exploration. Her calendar includes volunteer work with homeless veterans and literacy programs for children. These are dreams she had shelved while funding someone else's lifestyle and happiness. Now they feel possible, achievable, and entirely within her control to pursue freely. The last box contains photos from her military service and commendation letters. She handles each image carefully, remembering the woman who survived combat zones. That same strength had carried her through family betrayal and legal warfare. She packs away her dress uniform with the respect it deserves permanently. But the confidence and discipline it represents will travel with her everywhere. Her phone buzzes with a text message from an unknown number on screen. Jazz, this is Vanessa. The message reads with obvious desperation and regret. Can we talk about what happened and maybe work things out between us? Jasmine stares at the message for exactly 10 seconds before deleting it. Some bridges burn completely and cannot be rebuilt with words or apologies. She blocks the number and returns to packing her new life into boxes. The morning sun streams through her windows as she seals the final container. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror shows someone transformed by truth and freedom. The woman staring back knows her worth cannot be measured in dollars given. True love flows freely between people without price tags or transaction receipts attached. Freedom, she realizes, really is priceless and worth every battle fought to achieve it. Jasmine Carter walks out of her old life and into unlimited possibility ahead. 6 months later, Jasmine stands on a cobblestone street in Florence, Italy. Golden morning light bathes the ancient buildings as she walks to cooking class. Her backpack contains a well-worn journal and a camera full of memories already. The apartment sale money had funded this extended journey of rediscovery and healing. Each destination represents another piece of herself she had forgotten while supporting others. The Italian cooking instructor, Nonna Rosa, greets her with flour-dusted hands and warmth. Today we learn risotto, she announces with the passion of someone sharing life. Jasmine's hands work the rice with gentle, stirring motions that feel meditative. Around her, fellow travelers from 6 different countries share stories and laughter freely. Nobody asks about her past or demands explanations for her presence here. She exists simply as Jasmine, the American who makes everyone laugh during prep. Her humor flows naturally without the weight of financial obligation crushing it. For the first time in years, her personality shines without apology or reservation. The risotto turns out perfectly creamy, earning applause from her classmates and instructor. She photographs the golden dish and sends it to David back in Texas. His response comes immediately with 3 fire emojis and proud military brother energy. After cooking class, Jasmine walks through the Uffizi Gallery, admiring Renaissance masterpieces. Each painting tells stories of human struggle, triumph, and artistic expression through centuries. She pauses before Botticelli's Birth of Venus, studying the goddess emerging from water. Something about the image speaks to her own rebirth from the chaos. That evening finds her in a Tuscan art studio learning watercolor techniques. The instructor guides her brush across paper, creating soft landscapes of rolling hills. Painting requires presence in the moment, leaving no room for past resentments. Each brushstroke becomes a meditation on color, light, and personal creative expression. Her fellow students include a retired teacher, a young mother, and an architect. They bond over shared struggles with perspective and the joy of learning something new. These connections feel organic, unforced, and refreshingly free from hidden agendas or manipulation. 3 weeks later, Jasmine arrives in Barcelona for a volunteer program with refugees. She helps teach English to families fleeing war, torn countries, seeking safety and opportunity. Their courage reminds her of her own journey, from exploitation to independence recently. The children light up when she demonstrates basic phrases through silly games. Their laughter echoes in the community center as they practice conversations together. One young girl, Amara, reminds her of herself at 8 years old. Bright, curious, and determined despite circumstances beyond her control completely. Jasmine stays after official hours to help Amara with homework and pronunciation. Teaching feels like discovering a calling she never knew existed within her soul. Back in the United States, 2 months later, she volunteers at a Los Angeles. The Veterans Center bustles with activity as former soldiers seek housing and employment. Jasmine leads a workshop on financial literacy and avoiding exploitation from family. Her story resonates with audience members who nod in recognition and understanding. One Marine shares his own tale of siblings draining his deployment savings. A Navy veteran describes parents who used guilt to manipulate her disability payments. These stories confirm that financial abuse within families affects many service members. Jasmine realizes her experience can help others recognize and escape similar situations. She starts developing a curriculum for workshops at veterans centers nationwide. The work feels meaningful in ways that supporting Vanessa's lifestyle never did. On weekends, she volunteers at a community basketball court teaching kids fundamentals. The children range in age from 8 to 16, all hungry for mentorship. She demonstrates proper shooting form while sharing stories of teamwork and perseverance. These kids don't know about her military service or legal battles. They see her as Coach Jazz, someone who believes in their potential. Their enthusiasm reminds her why she loved sports before life became complicated. One evening, she sits in her hotel room overlooking downtown Portland's city lights. Her journal lies open on the small desk, pages filled with thoughts and observations. The past year has transformed her understanding of family, love, and self-worth. She writes about the difference between supporting someone and enabling their exploitation. True love never demands financial sacrifice as proof of loyalty or commitment. Healthy relationships involve mutual respect, boundaries, and reciprocal care without price tags. Her phone shows missed calls from Vanessa, but she doesn't feel compelled anymore. Some relationships cannot be salvaged once trust is broken so completely and deliberately. She had learned to forgive without resuming contact, protecting her hard-won peace. The city lights twinkle below like stars she can actually reach now. Her reflection in the window shows someone confident, independent, and genuinely happy. The woman staring back has scars but also wisdom earned through struggle. She opens her journal to a fresh page and begins writing her thoughts. Freedom isn't a medal you receive once for good behavior, she writes carefully. It's a choice you fight for every single day you wake up. Some battles involve literal warfare in foreign countries under enemy fire. Others happen in courtrooms, family dinners, and personal boundary setting with loved ones. Each victory builds strength for the next challenge life inevitably presents to everyone. The greatest freedom comes from knowing your worth isn't determined by others. Money flows in and out, but self-respect once lost requires intentional rebuilding. She had learned to invest in herself instead of funding other people's dreams. Her new life includes travel, learning, service, and relationships built on mutual respect. These experiences cost money, but also generated personal growth and genuine connections. The phone rings with a call from Maria, now planning a visit to Portland. They discuss hiking plans, restaurant recommendations, and shared laughter about military memories. These conversations feel light and joyful without hidden agendas or financial requests. Jasmine closes her journal and prepares for sleep in her comfortable hotel bed. Tomorrow brings a new city, fresh experiences, and continued healing from past wounds. Her dreams now belong entirely to her, funded by her own choices and values. The journey continues, with unlimited possibility and hard-earned wisdom as her compass guides forward. 1 year later, Jasmine stands on the windswept cliffs of Big Sur, California. The Pacific Ocean stretches endlessly before her, waves crashing against ancient rocks below. Salt air whips through her hair as she holds her passport like a ticket. Inside its worn pages lie stamps from 12 countries she has explored freely. Each destination represents another chapter in her story of independence and self-discovery completely. The woman who once funded someone else's dreams now creates her own adventures. Her backpack rests against a driftwood log, stuffed with journals and camera equipment. She had spent the morning photographing sunrise over the rugged coastline for her blog. Her online platform helps other veterans recognize financial abuse and reclaim their independence. Thousands of followers share their own stories of exploitation and eventual liberation. The community she built feels more like family than her biological relatives ever did. Her phone buzzes with a message from David, now visiting Italy with his wife. "The cooking class you recommended was incredible," he writes with obvious enthusiasm and joy. Maria sends photos from her pottery studio in New Mexico, hands covered in clay. Lieutenant Colonel Wilson shares updates about his retirement plans and travel dreams ahead. These connections strengthen over distance because they are built on mutual respect always. No one in her chosen family demands money or guilts her into financial support. Their relationships thrive on shared experiences, genuine care, and reciprocal emotional investment only. The wind carries the sound of seagulls calling as she opens her latest journal. She writes about the difference between loneliness and solitude in beautiful script. Loneliness happens when you are surrounded by people who only value your money. Solitude becomes peaceful when you choose your own company over toxic relationships deliberately. Her bank account now grows steadily, without automatic transfers draining it monthly. The money she once spent supporting others now funds her education and growth. Language classes, art workshops, volunteer travel, and meaningful experiences fill her calendar completely. Each dollar invested in herself generates returns in confidence, skills, and authentic happiness. A text notification interrupts her writing, showing an unknown number on the screen. The message preview reveals Vanessa's name and desperate words about needing help immediately. Jasmine stares at the notification for exactly 5 seconds before dismissing it. Some bridges burn so completely that rebuilding becomes impossible and inadvisable for everyone. She blocks the number without reading the full message or feeling guilty. Her emotional well-being matters more than maintaining toxic family connections at any cost. From her cliff-top perch, she can see a small coastal town nestled below. Smoke rises from chimneys as families gather for Sunday dinner together in peace. The scene reminds her of childhood dreams about what family could look like. But she had learned that biology doesn't guarantee loyalty, love, or mutual respect. The family she chose treats her with the dignity she deserves consistently. Her phone contains contacts from 6 continents, all genuine connections made through shared interests. None of them know about her military salary or bank account balance. They value her humor, compassion, creativity, and the unique perspective she brings always. These relationships feel sustainable because they exist without financial foundation or desperation beneath. The sun begins its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges. She packs her journal and prepares to hike back to her rental car. Tomorrow brings a flight to Costa Rica for a sustainable farming volunteer program. Next month includes plans to visit David in Texas for his birthday celebration. Her calendar reflects choices made from desire rather than obligation or guilt manipulation. A seagull lands nearby, studying her with intelligent eyes before taking flight again. The bird's freedom to soar wherever it chooses resonates with her current life. No invisible chains bind her to people who exploit generosity or mistake kindness. She had learned to fly after cutting the financial strings that grounded her. As she walks toward the parking area, she passes a young woman crying. The stranger sits alone on a bench, phone pressed to her ear desperately. "Mom, I can't keep sending money every month," the woman pleads with exhaustion. "I have my own bills, and you're asking for too much again." Jasmine recognizes the pain in her voice, the guilt and confusion about family. She approaches slowly and sits at the opposite end of the bench quietly. When the call ends, tears stream down the woman's face in obvious distress. Jasmine offers tissues from her backpack without judgment or invasive questions about details. "Sometimes family asks for more than we can give," she says gently. "You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm." The stranger looks up with gratitude for understanding rather than advice or criticism. They talk for 20 minutes about boundaries, self-worth, and healthy family relationships. Jasmine shares resources for financial abuse support without revealing her own story. By the time they part ways, the young woman seems lighter somehow. These moments of connection remind Jasmine why her journey matters beyond personal healing. Her experience becomes a bridge, helping others cross from exploitation to independence successfully. The drive back to her hotel takes her through redwood forests and rolling hills. Each mile represents distance from the person she used to be completely. The woman who once measured love in dollars now understands genuine affection. Real love flows freely without price tags, conditions, or financial transaction receipts attached. Freedom costs everything you think you cannot live without, initially and painfully. But the price of staying trapped costs infinitely more in dignity and self-respect. Her hotel room overlooks a harbor where sailboats bob peacefully in calm water. She opens her laptop to write her weekly blog post for fellow veterans. The words flow easily as she describes her latest adventures and insights gained. Her story resonates because it speaks to universal struggles with family and boundaries. Comments pour in from readers sharing their own liberation stories and gratitude. Each response confirms that healing happens when people choose themselves over toxic relationships. She closes the laptop and steps onto her hotel balcony under starlit sky. The passport in her hand represents unlimited possibility and hard-earned freedom ahead. Tomorrow brings new adventures, genuine connections, and continued growth without apology or compromise. "True love cannot be bought with money," she whispers to the ocean breeze. Freedom is priceless, and worth every battle fought to achieve it completely and permanently.